12 years. 12 long, grueling years. And yet, for the Miami Dolphins and their fans, the pain remains fresh. Lane Johnson, the dominant force on the Eagles' offensive line, is preparing for his third Super Bowl, and he's not done yet. A career that will almost certainly land him in the Hall of Fame. And the Dolphins, they could have had him. They should have had him. Instead, they took Dion Jordan, a pick that remains one of the most catastrophic blunders in franchise history. Let's be clear, this wasn't just a missed opportunity. This was a self-inflicted wound. Miami didn't just let Johnson slip away. They actively traded up to grab Jordan. They moved from the 12th pick to the 3rd, thinking they were securing a game-changer. Meanwhile, the Eagles stayed patient, stayed smart, and walked away with a franchise cornerstone at number 4. That's the difference. That's the gap between these two franchises. One makes bold moves that pay off. The other, reckless gambles that backfire. And so, here we are, more than a decade later, watching Philadelphia reload for another title run, while the Dolphins are still searching for a playoff win. One single playoff win. And if you think this is just about one bad pick, buckle up, because this story has been playing out over and over again. Both teams needed a tight end. Miami took Mike Gesicki, a high-flying pass catcher with athleticism to spare. But that's all he was, a pass catcher. Blocking, not his thing. 7 picks later, the Eagles took Dallas Goedert, a complete tight end, someone who could do everything at a high level. Nearly 7 years later, Goedert is still a critical piece of the Eagles' offense, while Gesicki has already bounced to his 3rd team. And it doesn't stop there. Look at the blockbuster wide receiver trades. Miami and Philadelphia both went all in. The Dolphins made a splash for Tyreek Hill, an electrifying talent who has been nothing short of incredible. But the cost? 5 draft picks, a first, a second, 2 fourths, and a 6th. Meanwhile, the Eagles landed A.J. Brown for just 2 picks, a first and a 3rd. Hill's numbers have been better, sure, but not by that much. And when you factor in the price, it's another win for the Eagles. And then there's the 2021 draft. Both teams needed a second wide receiver. The Dolphins traded up from 12 to 6, giving up a future first-round pick to get Jalen Waddle. The Eagles moved up just 2 spots from 12 to 10, giving up only a 3rd-rounder to land Devonta Smith. Both players have put up similar numbers, but Smith has arguably been the more reliable target. And yet again, the Eagles got their guy for less. The pattern continues. That same 2021 draft, the Dolphins had the 36th pick, courtesy of Houston. They selected Javon Holland, a solid safety, a good player. But who went next? The Eagles took Landon Dickerson, who has been outstanding. 3 straight Pro Bowls. 2nd team All-Pro honors in 2024. A dominant force on the NFL's best defensive line. Holland is good. Dickerson is great. And once again, Philadelphia wins. Even in 2024, the story played out the same way. The Dolphins took Chop Robinson with the 21st pick. He was fine, a solid rotational player. But the Eagles? They took Quinyon Mitchell right after, and he was fantastic. A day-1 starter for the NFL's top-ranked defense. Miami didn't blow the pick, but Philly nailed theirs. And that's the difference. And now, the quarterback conversation. The one that makes this whole saga even tougher to stomach. In 2020, Miami had the 5th overall pick. They took Tua Tagovailoa. The Eagles, sitting back in the 2nd round, took Jalen Hurts. Now, is Hurts the better quarterback? That depends on how you define it. But here's what isn't up for debate. The Eagles got their franchise guy without using a top 5 pick. They built their roster smarter. They didn't have to force the move. They let value come to them. And that's why they're here, contending for a title, while the Dolphins are still waiting for their moment. Maybe there's one position where Miami has the edge. Maybe. Defensive tackle. The Dolphins took Christian Wilkins at number 13 in 2019. The Eagles took Jordan Davis at number 13 in 2022. And so far, Wilkins has been more productive. But let's be honest, if history tells us anything, it's that Davis is probably about to explode into stardom. Because that's how this always goes. It all comes down to one undeniable truth. The Eagles know how to build a roster. They know how to find value. They know how to play the board. The Dolphins, they get good players, sometimes even great players, but they pay more. They reach higher. They take bigger risks. And when it comes time to match up against the elite teams in this league, those little missteps add up. It's been happening for over a decade. The Eagles keep winning. The Dolphins keep almost winning. And the biggest question remains, when does it end?